Hello world, and welcome back to another video for Future Tech Ideas. In this video we're going to be talking about the Samsung Galaxy S4 which was unveiled earlier today in New York. The Samsung Galaxy S4 has a slightly different design, but it is very reminiscent of the Samsung Galaxy S3. It's more so a fine-tuned design than a completely different design. It's thinner, and apparently the back side is flatter than the rounded surface of the S3, and it comes with a 5-inch display, a 5-inch AMOLED screen, which is obviously high resolution, something you've come to expect out of smartphones, as well as more powerful with an Exynos 5 processor, and in some regions instead you may get a Qualcomm chip. That depends on the regions. I'm not sure on the reasoning behind that. It comes in 3 different models: a 16 gig model, a 32 gigabyte model, and a 64 gigabyte model. So that's kind of laid out a lot like the iPhone is, with 3 different models: 16, 32, and 64. 64 being the most expensive, and obviously the 16 being the lower end of that model. So that, although many people may say 16 gig really isn't enough storage, for people that need or want a smartphone but don't want to pay that outrageous price, it is probably a good option for them. But pricing for the device has not yet been announced. Now, in terms of storage, along with that 16, 32, or 64 gigabytes, you also have an SD card slot, as many Android devices have, which is good, and it comes with the latest version of Android, Android 4.2.2, something that you also don't see in a lot of Android smartphones these days, as a lot of them come with 4.1 or even 4.0. So that's an interesting thing to see from Samsung. Now, cameras, they've really stepped it up a notch with the S3 as well here. It comes with a 13 megapixel camera, something that's becoming more common these days, as well as a 2 megapixel front-facing camera. And something interesting is they call it a dual shot camera, where you can be taking a video or a picture. Let's say I'm taking a picture of my camera, which you can't see with my phone. I could take the picture of the camera, but in that same frame it would use the front-facing camera, so you could see me in that frame as well. So you could place, me, here or here or here or here, and you can do that in videos too. If I was to take a video of my camera that's recording this video right now, I could either place, a video of me that was being taken at the exact same time up here or wherever, and so that allows you to be in different shots and all that if you want to be. Obviously the cameraman never gets any credit, so the Samsung S4, Galaxy S4 may help on that front. Now, it also has a few other interesting features, such as eye tracking, something that a lot of people rumored. Basically, and this is how they really demonstrated it, is if I'm watching a video and I'm paying attention to it, obviously, and something grabs my attention over there, so I go look, it'll actually pause the video on the phone until I get back to it and start looking at it, and it'll start playing again. I think that's a little cool. It's more of a gimmick than anything, but it's kind of cool. And next, there's also air gesture. So basically, let's say this, my hand is my phone. I don't know how you can see this, but basically what they're saying is you could use your hand without touching the phone to swipe between pictures and stuff like that, and other stuff, and be able to not touch the phone. And apparently this works relatively okay from some of the other videos that I've viewed, although I cannot verify that at this point in time. And back to the camera as well, it has a lot of features that you've seen in the Galaxy camera, so it's definitely a very full-featured camera, something that you also may not see in a lot of smartphones. So if you want something like that with a lot of features and a lot of effects, then maybe the Samsung Galaxy S4 may be an interesting option for you. Now, apart from air gesture and eye tracking, it also has air view. Basically, it gives you previews of different things, like in a web browser. If you put your finger over like a tab, it'll give you a small little preview of what's open in that tab. That's kind of cool. It might help with productivity and stuff like that, so you obviously get stuff done faster instead of going through every single tab, which is something that can be annoying, especially if you have a lot open at the same time. So that's interesting to see whether any of those features, such as air gesture, eye tracking, and air view, will ever really take off. I don't know. They're more more of a gimmick than anything else, but apparently they do work relatively okay. But once again, I cannot verify that as I have not used an S4. But it is supposed to be released by the beginning of the second quarter, I believe. Now, or at least sometime in the second quarter. Now, it also has something else that's kind of interesting. It has a pedometer built into it. So basically, if you have an actual pedometer, Samsung is saying throw that away. Anyway, well, maybe not quite that, but something along those lines. So basically, you can track, temperature, you can track your food, your exercise, and of course the steps that you walk, because that's kind of what a pedometer is meant to do. Blood pressure and all that kind of stuff. So that's interesting to see. So it's definitely more of a health monitor than anything else. So it can really monitor your health and your cholesterol and all of that. So that's kind of interesting to see as well. See if you can monitor all of that on your phone. It's very mobile and all that, so it could have many different applications. Maybe something that you could even show to your doctor. I don't know if a doctor would even look at that or not, but it has a lot of interesting applications, and it would allow users to see, really see, as long as they're being honest with it, really see if, they are healthy. Like if it says, like if they, with the food they eat and all that other stuff and the amount they walk and all that, it could really paint a picture of somebody's health on their phone. So that's really interesting to see. Obviously, like I said, it has a lot of potential, I think, and that feature is much less of a gimmick and something that I think is very, very good to see from Samsung in the Samsung Galaxy S4. It's definitely a very, very good health monitor, and I'm very, very pleased to see that in in a smartphone, and hopefully something like that will pick up eventually in the future in other smartphones. But for now, Samsung is the only manufacturer that I know of that does put a pedometer in their phone. So that's very interesting to see, and I definitely applaud Samsung on that one, because like I said, it is a health monitor, and it really has a lot of potential for being, a way to see if somebody's healthy or not, and maybe even a doctor can look at that and see different trends. And then maybe the person there could see how they could change, whether it be their diet or their exercise habits, to, live a healthier life. So that is very interesting to see, and obviously being in a smartphone is going to be with that person most of the time, so it can really truly paint an honest picture of that person's health, which is very, very cool to see. Now it also has an IR blaster, which, you can use it as a TV remote, TV guide as well. So if you want to control your TV or something like that, you can use your phone to do that. Something that seems to be picking up. It's kind of interesting, but I don't know if I'd ever end up using that. I think that's a feature that's cool. A TV guide I might end up using. Apparently you can even share TV shows with your television, so that's kind of cool. But the TV remote part, I'm not sure if I would ever end up using something like that, because it just doesn't seem necessary. TV already comes with a remote. I don't need a $500 or $600 smartphone to control my TV's remote. It's a pretty expensive remote. But in terms of pricing, which I should get to here, there is no information on the pricing just yet. Samsung has not released pricing information, which is interesting, but I would think sometime in the second quarter, which is when they do intend to release it. So I'd say in a few weeks we should know the pricing of the device as well, which will definitely help decide for people such as people that are watching this video right now, decide whether this is a smartphone for me or whether this isn't the smartphone for me. But from what I'm seeing from Samsung in the S4, it's definitely all about features, and I'm not the first one to say that. It's a lot about features. The design has not changed too much. It has a larger screen, at a 5-inch screen, so that's interesting to see. They're definitely seeing that, hey, people want bigger screens, so let's give them bigger screens. Unlike a company like Apple that sees, people like 5-inch screens, let's go with a 4-inch screen instead. Samsung is trying to make those changes, for the consumer, and make it so, consumers want these devices. So Samsung is definitely keeping up with the technology. They're not falling behind like other companies like Apple seem to be. They're definitely staying right up there. It has all that 4G stuff in it as well, and it will be released, like I said, in the second quarter on all major U.S. carriers. I'm not sure about information up here in Canada, but definitely in the U.S. it will be released fairly soon, and I can't imagine that Canada will be far behind, and of course the rest of the world after that. But like I said, Samsung is definitely headed in the right direction with this. There is a ton of new features in it, and Samsung is really, really doing some interesting stuff with this phone. I'm surprised to see a few things, especially that whole eye tracking feature. It's a little creepy when you think about it, but it is interesting to see that, you know, it can track your eye, and if I look away, it'll pause, you know, a video or whatever, or I can even use my hand to, you know, swipe through pictures and all that. So that's kind of cool to see. If you're a person who doesn't want to get your screen dirty, that's an interesting feature to see, but more gimmicky than anything else, because it kind of has a touchscreen, and I think the touchscreen's supposed to be touched, but I'm not sure on that one. But that's about it, really. That's my opinion on it. I think Samsung is definitely headed in the right direction. There's a lot of gimmicky stuff to this phone, though. I think, although it is a gimmick, people will buy it either way, and it does look like it is quite the phone. It's a fairly powerful phone with a powerful processor. That's cool to see. So it has a very good, you know, it's supposed to have a 13 megapixel camera, at least on paper. Whether that takes good shots or not, I don't know. We'll have to see as, you know, the phone gets released as well. So, and you know, obviously the TV remote as well is a little, it's there, it's cool, but what's the point? And one feature here I did forget to touch on is group play. So basically what it allows you to do is you can share media to other Samsung devices, other phones. If you want to share music or movies or with your friends, then you can do that. If you're all grouped together, you can share it with the group to those phones, which is kind of cool. It's a group sharing feature. It's kind of cool. Whether you'd end up using that or not, I'm not sure, because we kind of do have that funky thing called email, but I don't know. It could be an interesting thing to, you know, play around with, but I don't know if that's going to catch on or not. Personally, if I was using the S4, I don't see myself using that feature very often. And same with that, you know, those gestures and that eye track. Well, eye tracking maybe, but a lot of these features that I've seen in the S4, I don't think I would really use all too much. It just seems, I don't know. It's questionable, some of the features. But they are gimmicks, and people will obviously, you know, buy the device. And I think, from what I've seen so far, I have nothing bad to really say about it. I think it sounds like a very good device from Samsung, like I have said. And once again, I applaud Samsung on creating a device like this. And in case you didn't catch it, I did catch parts of it anyways, and I'm sure you'll see other videos from other news sources. I know CNET's got a few videos. CNET did a live stream of it, actually, of the Samsung Galaxy S4 event. They were in New York, like I said, and it was a pretty interesting show. I will admit that they definitely tried to entertain the audience while doing it, and it was very, they tried to, you know, present some realistic situations with the phone, and it was interesting to watch. And I was surprised, to be honest. It wasn't quite what I would have expected from Samsung, and I was very surprised in that sense. But it was a fairly, it seemed to be a pretty good presentation of the device, and they went through all the features, obviously, and they tried to make it fun, like I said. Something that I thought was pretty cool. It's not something you see too often either. That's really about it. Once again, good job, Samsung. And really, that's about it. Make sure I'm Cole Kruper, which I failed to mention in the beginning of this video. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at CK270. Follow at Future Tech Ideas on Twitter, and make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, the Future Tech Ideas, for more tech videos like this, and as well, check out futuretechideas.com. We got a lot of cool stuff going on there. You'll see a lot more cool stuff going on there, you know, as well throughout the next month or so. So that should be interesting to see here. So that's really about it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.